Yes, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Sykes, the royalist, here with the one, the only, the irresistible Paula Froelich. Yay! Howdy, Paula. How's it going?
Oh my gosh, we have a huge blizzard outside, so I'm glad to be warm in here with you.
Well, that's nothing compared to the blizzard of news that's going on in the
I see what you did there. I like it.
in the UK newspapers. I mean, where to start? Well, look, there's so much stuff to talk about. What we're going to get into later in the
Mm,
show, we're going to get into really this big question of what did Charles know, how much did he know, and when did he know it? But
mm-hmm.
before we do that, let's just catch up on what's been happening this evening. Catherine and William have gone to the BAFTAs. It is business as usual at Kensington Palace.
Mm.
And here they are arriving for the BAFTAs. William looks vaguely like he's about to thump somebody, but no change there. Catherine looks delighted. Yeah, good for them. So the BAFTAs is our equivalent, our very down market, low budget equivalent of the Oscars. But there's great films up for nomination. I don't know if you've seen Marty Supreme. Have you, Paula?
I have. I didn't
You
care
liked it?
for it. I feel like I dated a guy like that a couple times and I was over it from the second it started. Not to mention, Gwyneth Paltrow has the sex appeal of a cold fish. I can't with that. They were like, why
um,
wasn't she nominated? I was like, did you see the movie? No? Okay.
I, I'm not entirely sure whether William needs to be at a film called One Problem After Another, but that's his choice. It's not
It could
actually
just
called
be
that, is it?
called
It's called
Williams.
something else.
At this point, it should just be called Prince William's biography.
Yeah, one battle after another. One battle after another. I haven't actually seen that one yet, but I hear it's amazing. And then there's the Norwegian one, the Skarsgård fella.
Look, honey, don't even look at me. I know I cover entertainment, but I don't have to watch their films most of the time. Let's be
Anyway, a
clear.
noble effort to continue as normal, and more efforts to continue as normal yesterday from Catherine, who not only went to the rugby to watch England get hammered by Ireland,
Mm.
but they also released one of their famous super cheesy Instagram films to mark the moment. So let's have a look at this and tell me what you think, Paula. Does this sing to you of I mean it's
I kind of like it. I'm not mad at
yeah.
it. Here's the deal, Tom. I think it looks like a celebratory, we were right all along kind of video. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. But I mean they
Like,
were right all along, weren't they?
of
I mean they've
course.
been saying for years, as I've been reporting, they've been saying for years, you've got to cut off from this guy. You've got to completely divorce,
Hmm.
completely sever from this guy. It's
Yep.
I'm just gonna go back a bit. So my head's roughly the same size as yours. Uh,
I've got a very big head.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, they've done the right. They've earned their right to go to Twickenham
Mm.
and look somewhat pleased with themselves. So all that said, there's been quite, as I was saying, a blizzard of news in the
Mm-mm.
newspapers today. So there's sort of two stories that I think very much say, look, as I've been saying all along, I think that the key thing that's going to emerge about this whole scandal about Andrew, as I've been saying, it's moved on from being about Andrew, and it's now much more about what did the king know and when did he know it? And is this
Mm.
scandal going to be like a black hole that expands to suck in the king, basically? And I think there's sort of quite considerable evidence today that it will and that it is. So in 2019, he was sent an email by a whistleblower who hasn't been identified by the Daily Mail, who messaged Charles's representatives and lawyers who work for Charles repeatedly saying that David Rowland, who's this banker who owned this bank, which
In Luxembourg, the shadiest country to own a bank in. Just
exactly. And he is also, David Rowland is also the guy that Andrew sent one of this email to saying, here's the secret report about what England's going to do about the Icelandic banks. You might want to see if you make your move. And the Mail have now published this email from this whistleblower saying, warning him. It suggests His Royal Highness considers his relationship with David Rowland more important than that of the family. The CC to Clive Alderton, Charles's private secretary. The Duke of York has concealed his commercial relationship with you within a company incorporated in the British Virgin Islands. I mean, it's all kind of been proved true. And I don't know, so that's one bit of evidence that the king knew more about what was going on than he said. And the other bit looks like it's come from the Mail again, have dug it up from, I think they've probably dug it up from the WikiLeaks cables that were leaked.
Well, it was the Panama Papers.
Was it the Panama Papers? Right.
I believe it was.
The diplomatic papers that got leaked about 15 years ago. I mean, it's amazing. So I'll read you some of it and then we'll talk about it.
Ooh,
so Patrick Nixon. Story time, settling kids. Patrick Nixon, who was then the ambassador to the United Arab Emirates, said that Andrew's visit to the region, he said, I was particularly alarmed by some crass and offensive remarks which he made to distinguished Emiratis. The Duke has damaged rather than enhanced our standing and that of the royal family. A guest, Sheikh Saif, who's a nephew of the ruler of Fujairah, which is one of the smaller emirates. So, he's not a particularly important guy, but he is the ruler of one of the emirates, the UAE, one of the E's. Who's obliged to telephone to apologize. He felt that it was inappropriate. And then writing to Michael J., the head of the diplomatic service at the time, this ambassador says, I find it inexplicable that someone whose own life is governed by royal protocol does not appear to appreciate the harm he is doing. I mean, it's, and I just sort of feel like if these emails were going back and forth to Michael J., subject line, the Duke of York, it just feels to me inconceivable that Charles had no idea what was going on.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to Andrew Lowney the other day, and he told me he had seen copies of other papers, and that showed that Charles knew what was going on. And I said, so did he know, or did he know? And he goes, of course he knew. Or not, he didn't say papers that Charles knew. He said papers that Andrew was spilling secrets. And he goes, well, if I have a copy, of course the king has a copy. And I don't think people understand. It's kind of like if anyone saw The Crown, you saw the big red box that Queen Elizabeth got every morning, everything important in that box. She saw everything. And so does Charles. Just because they chose to ignore it doesn't mean they didn't see it. And, no offense, if journalists like Andrew Lowney or people like you and me are getting this information, we're the last ones to get the information because it usually means that they tried to go to the top first and the top ignored. So, you and I have talked about how Charles must have known, again, some of his money. I truly believe the Sun reported that he put in £2 million of his own money for the Virginia Giuffre settlement. They have not retracted the story. If it was not true, trust me, the lawyers would have been on it. And just because, as we've seen, Buckingham Palace sends out a statement, well, that doesn't mean that we're all going to just 100% believe it. They're still trying to control this narrative because they are in massive trouble. Okay. And so I'm sorry. Charles gave money. He knew, we all knew what the allegations against Andrew were for Virginia Giuffre. Even Prince Harry, God bless him, wrote in Spare that he was an alleged rapist. So we all know this. And also, there's a reason why Andrew was forced to step down in 2011 from being a trade envoy for England. It was because, not just because of Epstein, but it was because all the complaints coming from all of the embassies around the world. Now, he was forced to step down. They said it was by mutual agreement. I doubt Andrew would have ever given that up on purpose had somebody not framed it a certain way. So come on. They knew. They knew, they knew, they knew. And
I do
now,
think I think that the other thing that's really not going to help Charles
mm-hmm,
in this claim to be completely
mm-hmm,
innocent and a complete ingenue who,
mm,
never did anything wrong is the fact that in 2015 he accepted over several meetings 3 million euros in cash from Sheikh Hamid bin Qassim bin Baba Al Thani, the former Prime Minister of Qatar. The Al Thanis are the ruling family of
right.
Qatar. Um, this was well documented by a report in the Sunday Times about 6 months before Charles succeeded to
Mm,
the throne.
mm-hmm,
On one
mm-hmm.
occasion, the cash was in a holdall. In another, it was all in 500 euro notes, which are not used anymore in the
Yeah.
Eurozone because they're so open to abuse, stuffed into a Fortnum Mason carrier bag. I mean, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like so the and I often think about that story because I often think about how it completely disappeared from the radar, and I kind of get that it was kind of swept away by the accession and
Right.
that kind of thing. But at the same time, like he did accept 3 million euros in cash. I mean, if you or I
Yeah.
had done that, we'd be in jail.
Are you kidding? First of all, Tom, what would we do? Hello, here's a $3,000 bag, and it is shoved with 5 million. Excuse me, banker, can I deposit this? No. They'd be like, sure, one moment, call the cops. I'd be thrown in jail. I mean, I usually have a rule of thumb, which is I don't want anything over $100 in cash. And don't give me $100 bill because nobody accepts them anymore. So, I think the fact that nobody's dodgy radar went off on a bag of cash, I mean,
Mm.
it's just, it's kind of ridiculous. Obviously, it's like, I mean, who does this? Drug dealers, sex traffickers, and apparently royalty.
But that's the thing, isn't it? And I mean, so
Yeah.
like, if you think about it, okay, so Clarence House, who was Charles's representative at the time,
Mm-mm.
said that oh, it was passed over to the bank immediately, and everything was checked, and all the process was followed.
Was
But I
it?
mean, literally suitcases of cash.
Yeah.
Michael Fawcett hand counting the money. Coots, their private bank, took the cash in and it was put into the Prince of Wales's charitable fund.
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And the Sheikh, by the way, he owns the Intercontinental on Park Lane, and he famously is the owner of Paris Saint-Germain Football Club. And spent millions of money
Right.
buying all these players for Paris Saint-Germain, like Kylian Mbappe and all these kind of players, like just spent millions and millions and millions, literally just
Right.
flooded this, frankly, was a pretty insignificant football club before he arrived, and literally just funneled millions and millions of dollars into it. And
Mm.
they've been mates for like years. He was
Yeah,
part of the
but
redevelopment of this big part of London, the
the
Chelsea
other,
Barracks, and Charles wrote to him and said, "Oh, please don't do it," and he said, "Of course I won't." And it's just
right.
like
The
it
other
just
point is, Tom,
mm,
if somebody says they give you a bag of 5 million cash, how much was actually in there? Because most people would do a wire transfer for that kind of money, and you know exactly how much was in there. The reason why you give cash is so that nobody actually knows how much is in there.
mm.
And it's just dodgy. It's a wire transfer. It's also, I don't know. I have a
And
fear
if
of
you
being
look
robbed.
also, I mean, about the same time, there was the whole scandal over Michael Fawcett, who was his aide,
Hmm?
who was literally offering passports to people, offering to support passport applications, again, for dodgy people,
Well,
if they donated sufficient amounts of money to Dumfries House. And actually, Dumfries House, which is this house that Charles owns in Scotland, which, to be fair, you know, is a big, great community thing, and the people there love it, obviously, and think it's great, and think Charles, you know, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth, etc., etc. But the problem that the royal family have always had is that, despite being immensely wealthy, they don't really have any. They never seem to have any money, and
well,
or
they're
they don't
cash
want to
poor.
spend their own money, which
Right.
brings us neatly, I would say, to Sarah Ferguson. Where has
Oh,
Sarah Ferguson been,
100%.
Paula?
Oh, well, first of all, I just saw a comment that I was chewing gum. I am not chewing gum. I do not chew gum. I was raised not to chew gum. My mother always said it looked like you were a cow chewing your cud. I am sucking on a nicotine mint because I am a huge nicotine addict, and I haven't smoked since 2014 when I was in Afghanistan. Long story, I'll get to that later. Here's the thing about Sarah Ferguson.
Yes, tell me.
The smart one, for once, got the hell out of Dodge in December. She then went to Paracelsus in Switzerland, known as the world's most expensive wellness spa, and proceeded to stay for a month. It's $17,000 a night, meaning she racked up bills of over 500,000, and that's not even including tax. For you and I to go there and just hang out for a month while people tell us we're okay, explore our traumas, and do all that stuff
Without judgment.
without judgment, of course. Absolutely. It would cost us a cool 600 plus grand. So she got it for free though, because it's Sarah, one of my favorites. She loves a freebie. We all know this. Fergie, the freebie lover. And by the way, I can't really blame her for that. All right. I mean, if somebody offered me a month at a place for 600 grand, I'd be like, oh, but I shouldn't. However, she's done work for this place before. So those of us who remember last year in the Telegraph newspaper, there was this huge exclusive story, Fergie dealing with her traumas. And they did this amazing photo shoot of her at home going, and just really good lighting for once. And they got her basically saying, I've been dealing with my traumas and they dealt with me without judgment. This is my safe place.
I would like to show you. I would like to
Mhm.
show you a video. Now, I don't know if this will work, and Ben's going to be very annoyed with me trying to do things.
Okay.
Can you see that, Ben, that I've uploaded? Can you? Oh yeah, okay. This is
Okay, go for it.
This is the greatest video ever, right? This is
I'm excited because I haven't seen it yet.
The founder of Paracelsus. Okay.
Oh boy, by the way,
guess how many views it's got?
I
560.
What? Okay,
It's got
first of all,
560 views. So this is
that guy,
its premiere.
he looks like he's the ripe old age of fetus. And if I walked into a place and he was in charge, I'd be like, I don't know about that. But go on.
Okay, so I'd like to point out this is basically the premiere of this film because it's never been seen before. I think he looks a bit like Jimmy Carr. But what you'll also notice is there's a couple of things I want you to notice. A, he doesn't get to speak, right? It's the weirdest video because there's two people there. Now, was it, who was it? Who wrote the rules of writing? Who said if you put a gun in a thing at some point, someone had better fire the gun or whatever, So if you put two people in a shot, it's customary for both of them to speak.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen in this occasion. So this is Sarah with the founder of the Paracelsus Clinic talking about what wonderful time she's had. And you'll notice that she makes a very generous offer to him in return for having been hosted there at $17,000 a day. Just watch how generous she is in what she offers to give back to him. It's really quite striking. Okay, let's watch it.
So when I walk away from Paracelsus recovery, I will take away nuggets in my pocket. I will tell the world publicly that I've found a safe haven, a nurturing oasis, a place where I can feel not judged. I feel that Paracelsus recovery has the most extraordinary embrace of goodness. The people are top of their trade, unique in their delivery, and every single person is coming to the table with another insight. Beautiful support. Beautiful people, beautiful sport. And so I think if you can possibly use these words, Jan, I give them to you for Paracelsus recovery, to thank you in deep gratitude for giving me a safe harbor in the storms of life.
She gave him some words.
I love
I
it.
mean, first of all, that guy does not move. Like if his head wasn't bobbing every, I don't know, every 25 words, I'd be like, is he dead? But that is amazing. Thank you for this stay, for this $1 million stay. I give you these words. I've taken nuggets and now I give you words.
It's like, it's so funny because I think you always know that Sarah is completely crazy. But like it's only occasionally when you get to see these kinds of films or whatever, or these crazy interviews that she does, or when she's talking about how the Queen is communicating with her through her corgis and stuff.
Mhm.
It's like you suddenly get this insight into how totally and utterly removed from
I know.
any form of normal life she
No.
is. I mean,
Well,
she's so
and by
removed
the
from
way,
normal life.
the corgis are now with Andrew, and if they are indeed in communication with the Queen, if I were Andrew, I'd watch out. Ankles shall be bitten.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I think the Queen's sending some tough messages through the corgis these days.
oh
You
my
know?
gosh, lots of
Yeah.
poop on lots of pillows, and ankles being bitten, and I mean, I can't even imagine
Oh
those
my
poor
God.
dogs, because Andrew doesn't think about anyone but himself. So God
Yeah,
bless. And
yeah.
at this point, nobody's going to be working for Andrew unless they get an insane pay rise. No more 30,000 pounds a year for you, sir. We'll give you 100. Just iron his underwear. We don't care. I mean,
Mm.
it's redonkulous, these people. But now she's apparently she's in the Middle East. I've been saying she's in the UAE. She was in Qatar to go visit her daughter over Art Basel, and at this point, if I were the UAE, I'd be like, yeah, need to leave. We've got our own issues with the Epstein files. They got the torture sheikh. They also got this Dubai woman who is part of the royal family, she was part of a human rights commission on women, and of course tried to offer her 13-year-old sister up to Epstein. So at this point, if I were in the UAE, I'd be like, listen, we've got a bit of an issue. Why don't you try Saudi? Right now we're
Move
just
along.
trying to keep quiet. Try
Yeah.
Saudi, maybe Jordan, Oman. Go back, go to Qatar.
Keep
They don't
moving.
care. Qatar's taken in Hamas. They'll take you in.
Anyway, so it's been wild. Yeah. So Fergie, so we don't know where she is. Okay, so I have a view on the Fergie thing, which is I think that she clearly is a material witness to this whole thing. And I think it is a very, very bad look that the king is not using any pressure or influence to get her to come back or wherever she is. And in my opinion, the king needs to. Sorry, I've just got to turn on my do not disturb. The king needs to, the king needs to let it be known that she needs to come back and face the bloody music, man. Like, she is up to her neck in this whole thing as much as anyone else. Her name's all over the papers. It's all over the files. She was clearly a lot of the stuff about the money was to pay off her debts. I mean, she's admitted that, she's admitted the 15 grand. I mean, we all know it's going to be 50 times that amount or 1,000 times that amount. But like, I just feel like the king is so consistently just behind on this, and like, I'm like, if you are the king, you are the sovereign of the nation, like, at least let it be known that you
Right.
have asked Fergie to come back. If she chooses
Yeah.
to defy you, that's her business, right? We're not in the days, and we're not going out kidnapping people or anything like that. Like, but you know, she's always claimed to have such respect for the royal family, and always claimed to have such respect for the Queen, and blah 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 blah. Like, I just feel like there is clearly one person who can, you know, solve this. Frankly, it is not. It is not acceptable for
No.
Sarah Ferguson to be in hiding while this is all happening. It's just not. It's completely unacceptable. And the suggestion that the king doesn't have any influence over her. I mean, people can just see that for the absolute rubbish that it is. Frankly, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's just at this point. But here's the problem, Tom. I don't think either her or Andrew actually think they did anything wrong because they live in such a la la land. I think she's so upset and traumatized because, you know, she can't believe that people are turning on her. And Andrew the same. I can't believe it. You know, I mean, my favorite story that has been going around in The Sun had the best story about when he was actually arrested. Andrew was like, but I'm the son of the queen. But no, you can't do this. Don't you know I am? And all this stuff. And you're like, oh my God. Andrew treated the police like a C-list celebrity treats a doorman at a club in New York. Like he told, at this point, even if someone has sat down with him and been like, okay, let's go through what you did wrong and let's go through what they're going to get you on, big guy, you know. And he's still just like, nope, 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 I did nothing wrong. I just had a few dates with some lovely girls friends introduced me to. And, you know, when I was bringing in bankers, I was bringing them in for Britain, you know, like, and Sarah, I think the same thing, even though, of course, she saw everything that went on, you know. And I just think at the end of the day, you know, I think it's going to have massive repercussions on Charles. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. I think in the next 6 months or year, he's either going to do a co-monarchy or step down for William, because of course they don't want to be seen as being pressured. They're going to let it try to die down, but the issue is there's still more in the Epstein files. They haven't completed the dump yet. And
Okay,
at this
so
point,
I'm not clear about that. Like, at one stage, it seemed to me to be suggested that this was the final installment of the Epstein files, and that there was nothing further to come. But there was just so much stuff that when people are saying, "Oh, there's more to come," it's because they mean it's taking so long to go through it. But
no, they were saying at first, well, we're doing it in tranches because we need to make sure everything is redacted properly.
yeah,
And of course, what they redacted were the men's names. And
yeah,
you know, the women's faces and names were out there half the time. So of course, you know, once again, the women are screwed over. And no, so then they did another huge drop, and there could be more. The issue is, even if the last one was the, you know, the one that happened like 2 days ago, even if that is the one, it's going to take us all months to get through it. So it's ridiculous. It's not going to end for a long time, and I think it erodes and erodes and erodes the monarchy in general.
yeah. No,
You know,
well,
if this were a
definitely.
public company, Charles would have been out on Friday.
Yeah, no, he definitely would. And I think that if he is, I mean, God forbid that it turns out that any money connection or anything like that. I mean, we know that Charles has always been vulnerable to money, as we were talking about that story about the Al-Thanis giving him €3 million. But I think that the problem really now, you know, and obviously a lot of comparisons made to Watergate, where this frankly fairly trifling crime of someone breaking into an office, you know, became this massive scandal because it was covered up by Nixon effectively, right? And that's why Nixon ended up being impeached, you know, although I know the impeachment didn't work in the end, but he ultimately resigned before he was impeached, I think, and was, you know, helicoptered out of the White House. And like, I just think that if the king if something similar has happened here,
Mm-hmm.
that the king has covered up for Andrew, then I think his position becomes untenable. And I think it's very hard to argue
Oh.
that he hasn't covered up for Andrew when he signed off on that payment to Virginia Giuffre, which was about buying her silence. That's what it was about.
Yep. Agree 100%. So I've been looking at the comments. People want to talk about Harry and Meghan as well. Because here's what I think. I think this entire situation has really made it crystal clear that you cannot have a gaggle of people running around using royal titles or being like, I'm a prince or I'm a duke, I'm a duchess, all that stuff. And I think, I think Beatrice and Eugenie, Harry, Meghan, Archie, Lily are going to have to just be regular people. Now, I did see the question about what reception I think Charles is going to get in the United States.
Yeah, because he's coming to your fine country. Assuming he doesn't get picked up by ICE, of course. He's coming in about.
I think he's going in the back door. I don't think.
I think it's in like 6 or 8 weeks. I mean, it's soon. It's soon. But yeah,
well,
just
I think
the Harry.
I think
thing,
it's going to be. I think it's
here's
going to
what
be
I
very.
think about the Harry and Meghan thing. I just think that it is so unbelievably obvious that if Harry and Meghan are not HRHs, it is so unbelievably obvious that their children should not be prince and princess. Like anybody in their right mind can see that they should not be prince and princess.
Right.
And the problem is, I'm afraid, once again, Charles was very, very weak. And they basically bounced this announcement into People magazine saying, they are prince and princess. And the palace just went along with it. It was just absolutely pathetic. They just rolled over and were completely bounced into it. And, what they should have done, in my opinion, is just said, they're not prince and princess. And if you keep using the titles, we will take them away. But if you don't use them, they can keep them. And you can tell people privately that they're prince and princess. You can stick it on their birth certificate or whatever you want. But, that's what I would have done. That's the deal that I would have made. But, they're so and I think part of the problem is that the communication between all the members of the family is so bad. They never speak to each other directly.
Wait. Hold on. I agree, bad communication, but I also think that Harry and Meghan have gotten into this habit now of saying things and kind of bullying the palace to go along with it. It goes again with their security. We've been told we have security. Well, do you? Because I don't think so. Not yet, boo. Ain't been announced. Ravik has not approved it. Then they are princess and prince. Okay, so it's kind of a bully. They've allowed themselves to be bullied from Montecito. And
the thing is, it's such pathetic bullying. I mean, it's not even like a bully with a big stick. It's just like somebody. It's just they just say it, and the palace just goes along with it. It's almost like
100%.
They can't be bothered to argue with it, and it's so pathetic. And it's I'm afraid, frankly, it's all to do with Charles's soft spot for Harry. I mean, if you go back, over time, I mean, everybody always said that he was much preferred Harry, and that found Harry much more simpatico, and that William was much tougher on him, and neither of them obviously were happy about what happened, and there's a lot of trauma there in their childhood and their teenage years and stuff. But the impression that I've always had from not just from talking to people in my job, but also from reading biographies and reading their own accounts of these things, is that he had in a way, Harry's much more like Charles. He's sort of emotional. He's kind of, whereas William's much more in the Queen Elizabeth mold of it's all quite buttoned up. It's my way or the highway, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just extraordinary how Charles just let himself be pushed around by them, and it's all just part of the mess that William's got to clear up. And I do think, like, a crisis, famously, isn't it, in Chinese, the word for a crisis is danger and opportunity. And I do think there is an extraordinary opportunity now for William to say, listen, pal, I'm right and you're wrong, and we need to sort all these issues out now. And even if you don't want to do it on your watch, we need to write to them on your watch and tell them what's going to happen, and so that no one can then argue with it.
100%. But I do want to get back to what we were talking about with Charles going to America. And this is how I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a very closed visit. It will be public and broadcast everywhere. It will be in the gates of the White House. They will go and they will be surrounded by very friendly, MAGA friendly press, royal friendly press, and there will be few opportunities for people to personally heckle. Do I think there will be signs? Do I think people are really angry? Yes, I do. And I think he's got to deal with it. And he should be prepping right now on how to deal with that. He will be kept at arm's length from them. However, do I think it'll happen? Yeah.
Interesting. So you think it will in some ways be a simulacrum of Trump's visit to the UK, where they had this kind of fake parade around Windsor Great Park, and 100%. This entirely made up ceremony, just to sort of make Trump feel good. I mean, of course, the whole point of a parade, of a procession, is that it takes place in front of a cheering crowd, right? That's the whole point of a procession. And so it was very funny when Trump came to the UK. I mean, look, I understand it completely. They couldn't drive Trump in an open top carriage through the streets of England. That wouldn't have been a good idea. But it was so funny when they had to do this kind of fake Disneyland version of the parade around Windsor Great Park. I mean, it was, to be fair, it was a brilliant success. And I initially was a bit queasy about it, and I thought, oh my God, it's a little bit selling out, you know, the heritage and all that. But ultimately, I do think actually the royal connection with Trump is so interesting, isn't it? It's the one thing where he behaves himself. I mean, there's amazing pictures.
Well, he loves them. Trump would love to be royal. He fashions himself as a Middle Eastern royal, you know, but here's the deal. The king did what needed to be done to get what Britain needed. And he did it. Now, here's the other thing, Tom. Are William and Catherine going to go to the States at all this year?
Well, apparently William is going to go, and you won't be surprised to hear, Paula, that he's going for the World Cup because he loves football.
Oh my God, he's going to be in New York here?
But I don't know which matches he's going to, but I assume he's going to go and see England. So I don't know if the venue's been decided yet. I don't know if the venue's been decided yet.
Traffic's going to be even worse. Jesus. I can't.
No, William's going to love it. William's going to love it. It'll be the football. It'll all be great. You know, he'll be right in his element. He'll be, you know, chatting on he'll be on Barstool Sports doing the podcast, and you know, he'll be doing all that stuff.
And do we think Harry's going to show up as well? Because, you know, this is something, they live in the States now. I mean, that would be the best. William goes to the England match, and then there's Harry in the stands. Like really angry and eating popcorn while Meghan's at his side, holding him, shooting eyeball daggers.
Stroking him.
Whispering in his ear, "You're better than that. You're so much better."
No, it's going to be an exciting. I mean, there's going to be a lot to be talking about though over the summer, because obviously for me, I write so much for an American audience through the Daily Beast and through my Substack and stuff. So, you know, there was so much interest when Trump obviously came to the UK, and I think it'll be similar. I think people will be, and I think people are going to be very interested in it. And I obviously look, they're not going to say a word about Jeffrey Epstein or anything like that. And you're right. No, that person's saying, can I go and heckle him? No, you can't. You won't get within a million miles of him. But you can, you know, it's interesting. And I do think that, I mean, I feel for Charles because, you know, he doesn't get any choice, right? Whether he does these things, he's told to go to the British government and he has to go, or he's told to host certain people and he has to host them. William's slightly different. There he is enjoying a football match. Just a regular guy. Totally normal, regular guy enjoying the football. Enjoying the soccer.
By the way, Tom, I do want to take this opportunity. You and Sasha are welcome to come stay with me during the World Cup.
Well, thank you very much.
So you can come do some American reporting.
No, I might stay well away, I think, from the football madness. But yeah, anyway, so the week ahead looks to be really dominated by Andrew. There's just going to be more and more stuff coming out. The UK media are probably going to have to pipe down about it a bit because ongoing police investigation, all that. But we don't, do we, Paula?
Nope. I will not pipe down.
Fantastic. Well, look, it's been lovely. Thank you very much, darling. Thank you very much, Ben. And we love you. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.